Alrighty, so let's talk about this beautiful young girl right here. This is Kayla Rincon-Miller. And Kayla was murdered, on the 17th of March, 2024. This was in Cape Coral, Florida. It started as an attempted robbery that turned into a fatal shooting.
Oh.
So there are two people accused of this crime. That is Thomas Stein, and that's the trial that we're watching right now, who was 16 at the time, and Christopher
Oh.
Horne Jr., who was also 16 at the time. Currently, Stein is on trial. Horne flipped and is testifying for the state in this trial. So on that night in March,
And Horne's
Stein
already
and
been
Horne,
convicted?
he's pled. He has not been sentenced
I
yet,
got it.
but
Okay.
because a part of his deal is that he will testify against Stein.
Okay.
So on the night that this happened, Stein and Horne were together driving in a gray Nissan Pathfinder rental. The rental was in Stein's mother's name. Was he supposed to be driving this car? No, he was not.
I was going to say, I really doubt it. I can't
Yeah,
imagine any rental company wants a 16-year-old driving their car.
they definitely don't. So they're just driving around Cape Coral at night. Kayla was at a movie theater with two friends. They were walking in a public area. They were headed for McDonald's to eat. So the two girls testified today that were with Kayla at the time of the incident, and they said they were just walking in kind of a it was kind of a quiet area, mostly businesses, and there weren't a
Mm-hmm.
lot of street lights. And they had been using a street light to stand under to make funny videos and take pictures of each other.
Okay.
And then this gray SUV drives by them slowly. Kind of
Oh.
they make eye contact with the driver, which was Thomas Stein.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls all kind of look at him and they kind of freak him out a little bit, like he's staring them down. And
Ooh.
so then they just keep on walking. The car goes past them. And then they make a U-turn and come back. And they use their high beams, basically shining the high beams in the eyes of the girls. And then one or both enter. Well, according to the victims who were present, both of them get out of the car. There's a verbal confrontation that happens where they tell them that they are robbing them and to give them everything they have.
Mm-hmm.
These are 15-year-old girls. What do they have? Purses
Right.
with change in it. That's what they have.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing.
But these kids, it's kind of a verbal confrontation. The both boys had handguns on them.
Oh my God.
One of the victims said that the gun he had looked kind of like a cowboy gun, like a more Western style pistol.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thomas Stein had a Glock, which, by the way, belongs to his mother. But
I was going to say, where did these guns come from? Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
So they
So
have
he
a
stole the
verbal
car
confrontation.
and the gun?
Yes, he did.
Oh my God.
So they are attempting to rob the girls. Christopher Horne is holding a gun on one of the girls, and she's just absolutely terrified, but he doesn't fire. But kind of on the other side of the car, or away from it, was dark and the high beams are on, and the girls are having a hard time seeing what's happening. But they hear the gun being fired, and Kayla is hit.
Oh God.
The boys jump in the car and drive away, and these young girls are just freaking out. Their friend is bleeding, and the one gal said her hands were shaking so bad that she couldn't dial 911, and so her friend had to take the phone and dial 911
Oh.
while she's trying to like hold her hand on the wound, because her friend, this is a girl that's been a friend of hers since elementary school,
Oh, it's just bleeding
holding
out in front of her.
is bleeding out in front of her. So
Yeah.
um 911, the everybody comes, as they do. They take Kayla off in the ambulance and they take her to a trauma hospital where she immediately has trauma surgery and she dies. And
Oh.
it's just the poor friends that were with her, they are so traumatized. Like, their testimony was rough today.
Mm-hmm.
One in particular, who had been, the other girl had known Kayla a short time. The other girl,
Mm-hmm.
they'd been friends since elementary school, and these guys were like freshmen in high school.
Oh my gosh.
So police
Talk
initially
about scar
have,
these poor girls for life. I mean,
oh, both of
obviously,
them,
besides
yes.
taking a life, which is tremendously sad for all of
Yeah,
them,
but the
especially
trauma
the Vic's
these girls have
family,
been through.
but oh my
Yeah.
God, horrifying.
So from witness description, they have a description of the SUV, number of suspects. Um, they also knew that one of the suspects was, this was funny, because this is kind of funny, but they both described Thomas Stein as being white with blue eyes and a bowl cut, which, yeah, it's not as bad now as it was when he was initially arrested, but yes, bowl cut for sure. That's Thomas Stein right there. And so they know that the driver was a white guy and the passenger was a black guy. They both had guns. And so the police eventually tracked down the car,
Mm-hmm.
and they find that, oh, look at that. It's a rental car. And who's it traced back to? Thomas Stein's mother.
Oh
So, of course,
God.
that places Stein with the vehicle. It also places the vehicle at the scene. There is some surveillance video of the SUV circling around, driving around, and them leaving or them returning after the robbery and coming up before the robbery as well. Um, there's
Wow.
kind of conflicting information, and I think some of it comes from the way that questions are asked. But today on the stand, one of the witnesses said the driver was a white guy and he's the one who shot Kayla. Apparently, she had not identified him before as the shooter. And so there's
Oh.
been conflicting information about who actually shot Kayla, because both boys had guns. Today they
There's
asked
no
for a mistrial
ballistics?
when she said that. I don't know. I haven't seen any of the ballistics yet. That hasn't come up.
Okay.
But you would think you'd be able to tell the difference. They're not the same gun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, there's a lot of evidence against this kid. Also, these two girls are very traumatized, and yes, their stories haven't been fully exactly the same every time they've been talked to. But my God,
Sure. Right.
like, they're children
Yeah.
and
You would
traumatized
expect them
children.
to be. Yeah.
Right, right. So eventually, Christopher Horne flips, and they probably offered this to both of them, and we're just waiting for one of them to tell on the other.
I'm sure.
So he has pleaded to second-degree murder plus attempted robbery, which he has avoided the life in prison potential by pleading to
Mm-hmm.
second-degree murder. He will be testifying against Thomas Stein. So they're kind of doing a point fingers at each other thing about
Mm-hmm.
who fired the shot at Kayla.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now today, one of the witnesses says it was the white guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
was the driver, which we do know that he in fact was the driver. So
Yeah.
anyway, the defense was super pissed about that and tried to get a mistrial over it and tried to get uh, um, a what am I trying to say? A Richardson violation, um, like that the prosecution knew that they were going to say that Stein is the shooter, and they
Mm-hmm.
hadn't turned that over to the defense. The prosecution says that she had actually not ever said that to them until today on Yes, I am streaming it. It's actually streaming right now over on the Trials channel. But yeah,
And that's
so
True Crime Squad Trials on
True
YouTube.
Crime Squad Trials. Yes, I am streaming it. It's but see, only one of the guns was shot. Both girls say there was only one shot. So I don't know. We'll see, because their testimony hasn't been as reliable, and basically the defense tried to say that what they were that the prosecution knew that they were gonna finger Thomas on the stand today, and that wasn't disclosed before. And the prosecutor's like, it's the first time she's ever said that. She didn't say that to her deposition. So I don't know. It was a big fight. He tried to get a Richardson violation. He tried to get a mistrial. The judge is like, nah, we're not doing it. So anyway, that happened. So who did actually pull the trigger? I mean, I think we probably know, but we'll see where we get here. This has been pretty interesting. Thomas's mother was on the stand today, and she admitted that there was a meeting at a park with her family and the Horne family, and there was discussion before their boys were arrested about how to hide or dispose of evidence, and that the Hornes offered to pay for her defense. So there's a whole lot of covering their asses going on the parts of the parents. Because how did these boys get these guns? And how did Thomas get the rental car?
Yeah.
Right? So I think the parents have been worried that they will be charged. I don't know. I think we're waiting to see what happens with the boys first. But seriously.
Yeah.
So this is going really interestingly. Both boys are being charged as adults. So that's why we're streaming this, because this is being
well, there's
held
some
in
pretty
adult
serious
court.
bad blood between the two families now, right?
Yes. So earlier in the week, they had finally sat a jury. And then the two families got into a heated argument in the hallway, and some of the jurors witnessed that, and they had to dismiss the entire jury and start over. And they did have some trouble because, of course, this was all over the news in Cape Coral, and so they did have a little bit of trouble getting a clean jury, but they did finally get one yesterday, late in the day. And that's why I didn't start. I haven't actually said I was going to stream this. I've just been watching it to wait and see, because I thought I probably was, but I missed the first hour and 15 minutes yesterday, which was really just the openers and some jury instructions. So we started up today, and anyway, yeah, I'm going to stream the rest of this because this is a pretty interesting case. Yeah. So the defense they are defensing. They're fighting hard for their client, which is nice to see.
Always a robust defense. We want to see it.
We do.
And we want to see a conviction.
Especially for a kid who was 16. But, doesn't mean that he didn't do it either. Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't know. I haven't checked. With Florida law, but here, if you're involved in a robbery and someone is killed, that's felony murder. And it doesn't really matter if you're the person who pulled the trigger or not. If you were a part of the commission of the crime, which they were, it was a robbery. Does it really matter who pulled the trigger?
Yeah.
Because that's felony murder. So but I don't know. Maybe that doesn't apply in this particular case. That's something I need to research so I can talk about later. But
wow.
Yeah.
Sad.
So
what a case.
Yeah, it is. It's quite a case. It is very sad, the loss of this beautiful young woman and just the destruction of the lives of these young men.
Yeah. And her crime, hanging out with her friends.
And her crime hanging out. They asked the one friend, what were you guys doing before this happened? And she said, laughing and taking videos of ourselves and being silly.
Aww. God
just girls trying to live their lives without being accosted by boys.
Yep.
So, anyway, come on over to the Trials channel and watch it with us.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
we'll keep you abreast. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about
What
not
goes
being able to
on.
hear in this courtroom either. If anything, it's too loud. It's very
Really?
loud.
Man,
Yeah.
that's a big change. Yeah.
Sometimes the mics aren't as loud as I would like them to be, but the judge is very loud. And then their white noise that they play during their sidebars. Oh my God, so loud. Anyway.
Information related to this case or the people and places involved in this case. You may not visit places mentioned in the trial or use the internet to look at maps or pictures to see any place discussed during the trial. If you investigate, research, or make inquiries on your own, I have no way to make sure that the information you obtain is proper for the case. The parties likewise have no opportunity to dispute or challenge the accuracy of what you find. This is contrary to our judicial system, which assures every party the right to ask questions about and challenge the evidence being considered against it and to present argument with respect to that evidence. Any independent investigation by a juror unfairly and improperly prevents the parties from having that opportunity our judicial system promises. You are also not permitted to communicate about this case with anyone, including your spouse, family members, friends, neighbors, or even your fellow jurors. No communication means no in-person, telephonic, or electronic communication, such as emailing, text messaging, posting information on social media or website, or any other form of communication. During the trial, the court may take recesses and you will be permitted to separate and go about your personal affairs. It is important to remember that the prohibition on communicating about this case applies during these recesses, whether you're in the courthouse or elsewhere. If at any time you find yourself in a situation where others are discussing the case in your presence, leave that situation at once and immediately report the matter to the bailiff who will advise the man. All cell phones, computers, tablets, or other types of electronic devices must be turned off while you're in the courtroom. Turned off means that the phone or other electronic device is actually off and not in a silent or vibrating mode. You may use these devices during recesses, but even then, you may not use your cell phone or electronic device to find out any information about the case or communicate with anyone about the case or the people involved in the case. Do not take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings or of your fellow jurors. After each recess, please double check to make sure your cell phone or electronic device is turned off. At the end of the case, while you are deliberating, you must not communicate with anyone outside the jury room. You cannot have in the jury room any cell phones, computers, or other electronic devices. If someone needs to contact you in an emergency, the court can receive messages and deliver them to you without delay. A contact phone number will be provided to you. It will be my office number that's on the court website. Any juror who violates these restrictions jeopardizes the fairness of these proceedings, and a mistrial could result that would require the entire trial process to start over. A mistrial is a tremendous expense and inconvenience to the parties, the court, and the taxpayers. If you violate these rules, you may be held in contempt of court and face sanctions such as serving time in jail, paying a fine, or both. In every criminal proceeding, a defendant has the absolute right to remain silent. At no time is it the duty of a defendant to prove his innocence. From the exercise of a defendant's right to remain silent, a jury is not permitted to draw any inference of guilt, and the fact that a defendant did not take the witness stand must not influence your verdict in any manner whatsoever. The attorneys are trained in the rules of evidence and trial procedure, and it is their duty to make all objections they feel are proper. When an objection is made, you should not speculate on the reason why it is made. Likewise, when an objection is sustained or upheld by me, you must not speculate on what might have occurred had the objection not been sustained, nor what a witness might have said had the witness been permitted to answer. During the trial, it may be necessary to confer with the attorneys out of your hearing and discuss matters that require consideration by me alone. It is impossible to predict when such a conference may be required or how long it will last. When such conferences occur, they will be conducted to consume as little of your time as is necessary for a fair and orderly trial of the case. Note-taking by jurors. If you would like to take notes during the trial, you may do so. On the other hand, of course, you are not required to take notes if you do not want to. That will be left up to you individually. You will be provided with a notepad and pen for use if you wish to take notes. Any notes that you take will be for your personal use. However, you should not take them with you from the courtroom. During recesses, The bailiff will take possession of your notes and will return them to you when we reconvene. After you have completed your deliberations, the bailiff will deliver your notes to me. They will be destroyed. No one will ever read your notes. If you take notes, do not get so involved in note-taking that you become distracted from the proceedings. Your notes should be used only as aids to your memory. Whether or not you take notes, you should rely on your memory of the evidence, and you should not be unduly influenced by the notes of other jurors. Notes are not entitled to greater weight than each juror's memory of the evidence. And I will tell you, when you retire to the jury room, my office and staff provide snacks and coffee and things like that back there for you. There is a refrigerator back there, so if you want to bring your own food or drinks to put in there tomorrow, you can do that as well. I recommend you bring layered clothing because the temperature changes in here from very, very cold to very, very warm. And the county controls that somewhere else. I don't control it in here. So that's why we just have you come with layers. And you are permitted, if you wish, if you want coffee or something like that, there's cups with lids. You can bring those back in here with you. Okay? Just don't bring food back in here. All right, with that, are both the state and defense ready to proceed?
The state's ready, Your Honor.
Defense ready? All right. Yeah, once we get the notepads passed out. And I think one juror was already saying they were cold earlier. Are you okay as far as the temperature right now?
Yeah, if you don't mind, if I can wear the hat every now and then.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody ready? All right, state, you may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time and attention so far during jury selection. We're about to get to what you've been waiting for, and I'm going to tell you about what you can expect to hear during the course of the trial, what evidence we expect to be presented, so you can have a guide map of what you can expect to see over the course of the trial. On March 17th of 2024, Kayla Rincon-Miller, a 15-year-old girl, a high school student in Cape Coral, made plans to meet up with some friends to go see a movie at the Marquee Cinemas in Cape Coral. That's the movie theater at the Coralwood Mall. It was a Sunday night. It was a little late in the evening because it was spring break. So these young girls made plans, got permission from their parents to stay out a little bit later and go to do this and meet up together because it was the first night of spring break. The plan was to meet up at the Marquee Cinemas with Luann DeJet, who is another friend of Kayla Rincon-Miller, and Luann was bringing her friend Emma Wright, who you'll hear referred to also as Val. Luann and Emma had been getting together earlier in the evening. They kind of primped and gotten ready to go out for the night. And the plan was simply to go out, go to the movies, and maybe have some dinner later. The reality is that between the three of them, they had very limited funds. Emma and Luann had money. They got into the movie theater. Kayla actually had about $13 with her and wasn't able to buy a ticket to get into the movie, and the girls worked it out so that she was able to sneak into the movie theater, and they went and saw the One Love Bob Marley movie. It was new at that time, if you remember. And they watched the movie. They finished up. It was later in the evening, about 9 o'clock. They went outside after the Bob Marley One Love movie and smoked some marijuana using a vape pen, and then decided to go out looking for the food that they were going to eat. There were a few options that were open. Starbucks was already closed. The girls didn't want Chipotle. Waffle House was going to be outside of their budget for all three of them if they even combined all of the resources they had. And so you'll hear that they decided to walk from the Coralwood Mall, where the Marquee Cinemas was, up to McDonald's, which is at the next shopping plaza where the Publix is on Del Prado. They opted not to walk along Del Prado Boulevard and instead walked on the side street or the back road, which is Southeast 16th Place. One side of that road is more residential and the other side has a series of businesses, and it leads from the Coralwood Mall up through to where the bowling alley is before you get to that public shopping center. These were young girls out to have fun. They were singing, making little videos, just on their way the first night of spring break. And meanwhile, over in North Fort Myers, our defendant here, Thomas Stein, was making plans with a friend of his for them to go and get up to something that night. He lives over on West Mariana Avenue in North Fort Myers, and he made plans to meet up with a friend of his named Christopher Horne Jr. There were some phone calls and text messages exchanged for Mr. Stein to drive and pick up Mr. Horne at a residence where he was visiting off of an address that you'll hear about on West Creek Circle. And it was just a short distance away from Thomas Stein's home. He drove a vehicle that had been rented by his mother. His mother's name is Jessica Stein. She rented a gray or silver Pathfinder from a Hertz rent-a-car. She'd had it for a short time. And Thomas Stein, a young teenager, used that car to travel and pick up Christopher Horne. You'll hear about them taking sort of a roundabout way from the West Creek address back around to the West Mariana address where Thomas Stein lived. And what you'll hear is that in that trip back to Thomas Stein's home, another friend of Thomas Stein named Jaden Fernandez reached out to Thomas Stein because he wanted to purchase some marijuana. And that was the contact or someone he knew might have some. And you'll hear from Jaden Fernandez throughout the course of this trial. He'll talk to you about being a friend of Thomas Stein, that they actually spent the entire day together on March 17th of 2024. Jaden Fernandez had gone on a beach trip with Thomas Stein, Jessica Stein, Thomas Stein's three other siblings, all in that silver Pathfinder up to the beach in the Venice area. They'd spent the day up there. He'll talk to you about what they did and that they returned about 5 o'clock. And at that point, Jaden had expected to part ways for the day. But after playing some basketball and doing some other young teenage boy stuff, he decided he wanted to purchase some marijuana. So he had reached back out to Thomas Stein. And what you will hear from Jaden Fernandez, or what I expect you'll hear, is that when you made that phone call or made that message to Thomas Stein, he said, "Hey, I'm already out. I'll come to you." And so Thomas Stein, driving the Pathfinder with Chris Horne in the passenger seat, made their way to Jaden Fernandez's house. He lives on Piney Road, which is just down the street and around the corner from where Thomas Stein lives. They live right near one another. And when the car arrived, Chris Horne hopped out of the front passenger seat. There was some commentary about wanting to go rob a Chico. Everyone piled back into the car and they drove to Thomas Stein's house, where Thomas Stein sent Jaden Fernandez into the house to go get the marijuana, get a scale. He brought it back to the car. Everything got parsed out. Thomas Stein drove Jaden Fernandez back to his house, dropped him off, and that's where the boys' ways parted for the night. It's important that you listen to what Jaden Fernandez says, because even though that's where they parted ways, he lets you know who was in that vehicle that night and around what time. And it's all leading up to the same time period that I've already been discussing with you, where the girls are over at the Marquee Cinemas. The boys, meaning Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne, then got up to what they were going to do. And in contrast to what you're going to hear about the girls walking down Southeast 16th Place, singing songs and making videos and walking like they're on a runway, Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne were planning to commit a robbery.
Objection, Judge. Argumentative.
Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne were planning to commit a robbery. And they were in the car. They were also making videos that they were posting to social media, but these were rap videos about getting out and doing some violence. And the boys went from the area in North Fort Myers into Cape Coral, down Del Prado Boulevard, and went right through the parking lot at the Marquee Cinemas off of Del Prado. They didn't stay in the cinema. They didn't go to the movies. They turned around in the parking lot, and at that point, lined up behind the girls who were walking on Southeast 16th Place, because they turned right around through the parking lot and went in the same direction the girls were walking. They didn't keep going. They turned around and they came back. They made a U-turn. They came up behind the girls again, turned around and blinded them with their lights. And at the point the car stopped, the driver, Thomas Stein, got out of the vehicle and went to the first girl in the line, and that was Kayla Rincon-Miller. Christopher Horne got out of his side of the vehicle and went to the other two girls who were just slightly behind, and that was Luann and Emma. They wanted their things. They were trying to steal from them. Luann had a small purse tucked up under her arm. Emma Wright had a crossbody bag, like a hobo-style bag, draped over her body, not wanting to give it up. And Kayla, who was being confronted by Thomas Stein, had a small purse, a white purse that contained her $13, things like her identification, small things, a lipstick, her personal items, and she didn't want to give it up. And at the moment she was fighting him off, bending over, a scuffle ensued. And in that time, because Christopher Horne and Thomas Stein had gotten out of that car with guns in hand, ready to commit a robbery, the gun went off by Thomas Stein into Kayla Rincon's chest between her breasts. It was shocking to both Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne. Christopher Horne said something about, "Why the F did you shoot?" The boys got right back in the car, and that car fled as fast as it could out of that location. Continued down Southeast 16th Place, turned back onto Del Prado, and hightailed it all the way back to the North Fort Myers, West Mariana Avenue address where Thomas Stein lived. That collision of those two groups is why we're here today. That trigger pull by Thomas Stein is why we're here today, and the investigation that occurred after that incident is what you're going to hear about after you hear from those girls who were present on the scene. Because what they're going to tell you is about their perceptions of how that occurred, what they heard and what they saw in an incredibly hectic, scary, and tragic event. Because while Luann and Emma were able to gather their bearings and see that they were okay, Kayla Rincon-Miller was not okay. She knelt and got to the ground, and the other girls realized that she had a bullet wound directly in the center of her chest. You'll hear that they immediately got on with 911, trying to make a call for dispatch to arrive. Luann was holding pressure on Kayla's chest to try and stop the bleeding. And they're immediately trying to understand and grasp what occurred in a dark street, in something that they had no expectation was going to happen. A short distance away from where this happened on Southeast 16th Place, Officer Jamil Vega with the Cape Coral Police Department was wrapping up another call. He heard about a shots fired call a very short distance from where he was. He grabbed the call from dispatch using his computer, and he went directly there. So within moments of the shooting happening, Officer Vega was on scene, and he went into the mode that his training told him, which was first, preserve life as best as possible. He assessed the situation, applied chest seals to both the front and back of Kayla. He rolled her over and saw, in fact, it was a through and through wound. He applied chest seals. She was awake at the time. She wanted to move at the time. She wanted to get up. They were asking her, "What happened? Do you know who did this?" Trying to gather information, because while the first and foremost role he took was to save her life and make that attempt, he also needed to understand what occurred so he could figure out who did this and protect public safety. So he's asking those questions simultaneously and relaying them over the radio. Another officer with the Cape Coral Police Department arrived soon after. That's Officer Riley Houlihan. And these two officers are actually I think you'll hear Officer Vega refer to it as rookies. They were within the first year or two of their role on the job. They had graduated from the academy together. You'll get to actually see what occurred in those first moments that they were interacting, because we have the body-worn camera footage from Officer Vega that I expect that you'll see here right at the beginning of the trial. And they're immediately looking at how do we help preserve life and how do we preserve an investigation because something serious happened here. They were asking detailed questions, how many, who, and you will hear the girls explaining. They can describe two people, and they're also one of them talks about some shadowy figures. You can assess for yourself when you look at the video, under an incredible amount of trauma and pressure at the moment that this occurs. But they very clearly outline that a black male wearing a red sweatshirt with loud writing came first for Emma and Luann, and that a white male with blue eyes and a bowl cut, who was the driver of the silver vehicle, went straight for Kayla and is the one who shot her. That information went out to law enforcement, and from there, law enforcement took the reins with the investigation. Kayla was taken to the Gulf Coast Hospital Trauma Center, where she received the medical care that was available. They tried very hard, and what you'll hear is that she did not survive her injuries while she was there. You'll hear from Sergeant Gum, who had traveled with her following the ambulance to get there. He'll talk to you about seeing her there. He'll let you know who she was. He met with her family, and he also collected the clothing she had at the time. He brought that back to the Cape Coral Police Department. And that's part of the investigation. That's part of the role that the Cape Coral Police Department played, was making sure those items were collected. And you'll also hear that while all of that was going on at the Gulf Coast Hospital, it was an all hands on deck situation for the Cape Coral Police Department. Detectives, road officers, violent crimes unit, all the different criminal investigations units were brought in, and they were trying to figure out what happened and verify or substantiate the claims of the perceptions made by Emma Wright and Luann Dejet, and also at the same time document what they were finding and what they were doing. And like I said at the beginning, that street along Southeast 16th Place has both residential on one side, but it also has those doctor's offices and commercial buildings on the left. And because the officers acted quickly and were lucky, one of those businesses, the St. Vincent thrift store, had very good video. It captured the vehicle's U-turn, and it made, you'll hear from, Officer John Allen Precy. I want to make sure I said his name right. He was able to view that video when he was collecting it as part of this investigation, slow down the frames, frame by frame, and identify that that was a silver Nissan Pathfinder that followed the girls after they had walked by. Using license plate readers that are set up around the county and within Cape Coral, and that make and model as well as the timing, the officers were able to narrow down the license plate of the vehicle involved that was driven by Thomas Stein. They didn't know it was Thomas Stein yet, but they were able to identify that vehicle. And it came back to a Hertz rental car. They were able to follow that trail to Hertz and find out that the person who had rented that was Jessica Stein. Jessica Stein did not match the description of the shooter that night, nor the passenger that night. But Jessica Stein's son, Thomas Stein, did match that description. And the investigation springboarded from there because law enforcement, Detective La Salandra, Detective Frank Scarlato, started looking into the background of who Thomas Stein was, what was he doing that night, and who was he with. They were able to use their investigative techniques to look at cell phone data, cell phone usage, tower data, messaging. You're going to hear about those investigative steps, and they were able to place Thomas Stein with Christopher Horne in the vehicle that night. The detectives tried to figure out who was involved, and they used every investigative technique available to try and do that, including looking at social media and videos and things like that that they were led to that involved both Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne that night. What they also learned is that that rental vehicle had been returned between 9 and 10 o'clock in the morning the day after the murder. Jessica Stein didn't need it anymore. But she didn't just return the car, she traded it for a different rental vehicle and took that one out because she didn't have a vehicle, she needed a rental car, but she didn't want that one. Some of what law enforcement was able to determine was that a gun that should have been in the Thomas Stein's home was not present when they conducted a search warrant there. But you'll also hear from Jaden Fernandez that that gun is one that Christopher Horne and Thomas Stein had had earlier. This investigation is wide sweeping. The facts are that on the night, March 17th of 2024, Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne went out to commit a robbery. And in the course of committing that robbery, they found Luann and Emma, as well as Kayla Rincon-Miller. And in trying to perpetrate that robbery, Kayla Rincon-Miller was shot and killed. The attempted robbery is that underlying felony we were talking about when it comes to felony murder. The action of committing the murder in the course of doing that is why it's felony murder. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking that you listen to all the testimony that you hear. You consider the nature of how that evidence was collected and watch what's presented to you, because once you receive all that information and you take that back to deliberate, the defendant should be found guilty as charged.
With?
Good afternoon, folks. It's been a long day, so I'm going to try to keep this rather short. The recitation of these alleged facts by Ms. Wolf, you should treat as a promise to you, and I encourage you to take notes throughout the course of the trial. But under two main things I want you to write down. The story of Christopher Horne Jr., who they call Bubba, Buster or Little Buster, Buck, and goes by different nicknames. Listen to his story. And forensics. Right? The science doesn't lie. Look at the forensics. The state has chosen to charge Thomas Stein with felony murder, right? The whole principle theory, someone over here is doing X, Y, and Z, so he's involved. Remember that course of discussion doing voir dire, right? But not premeditated murder in the first degree, right? The action of actually pulling the trigger himself. Weird. Isn't that strange? I'm not telling them how to try their case. But listen to see if they have enough evidence to prove premeditated murder. They didn't charge him that way because they don't. Listen for evidence to see if there's enough to charge him with felony murder. And they won't. 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to hear the state's own victims in this case, Luann Dejai, right? The two surviving victims, Luann Dejai and Val, Emma Wright, both say the same thing. We saw a car drive up past us. They slowed down real slow. The guy in the back seat leaned into the front to talk to someone in the front. He was wearing red. We saw the white guy driving. We can describe the color of his eyes. He's got blue eyes. He slows down from 25 miles an hour to 5 miles an hour, just creeping past him. They were laughing it off. Like, who are these guys? They're checking us out. You'll hear that the car went down, made a U-turn, came back, and pulled up to the curtains. The next thing you know, 4 doors open. 4. Not 2. 4. All of them popped open. You'll hear the person wearing a red hoodie, who was later determined to be Christopher Horne, came up to Val, am I right, put a gun in her face. Person from the other side of the car, they run up, there's a passenger and a back passenger. Each one runs up to Kayla, the other one runs up to Lynn. That's 3. You're going to hear him say that Thomas Stein was the driver standing at the driver's side door. What's happening? Oh, and by the way, he's the only one not wearing a mask. Right? The other 3 had foresight to wear masks. Struggle ensues with Kayla. You'll hear Val say, I saw Thomas Stein run past me to fight, to go to both of them, try to intercede. A shot rings out. She doesn't see it, but she hears it. 1 shot. Look at the forensics. The evidence will show that there's absence of stippling, an absence of burn marks. They didn't look for GSR. You'll hear that based upon that science, the shot came from at least 3 to 5 feet away. You'll hear they tested the purse strap of Kayla Rincon-Miller for DNA. You'll hear that there was a mixture found on that purse strap. That mixture, it excludes Thomas Stein and Christopher Horne. So who is this guy? There's 2 universal truths in this story. So 4 doors open, 3 victims, 2 universal truths. The death of Kayla Rincon-Miller is a tragic event. And Christopher Horne Jr., aka Bubba, aka Buster, aka Buck Buck, is a liar. It's a liar. There's only one person in trial in this case, and that's the patsy at the end of the day, Thomas Stein. The girls gave 4 descriptions of suspects, 4 different descriptions of suspects, 4 different builds, right? You got Thomas Stein, the only white male, young, bowl cut, blue eyes. You have Christopher Horne wearing a red sweatshirt. You have another black male, short twists, wearing a red shirt with loud writing in the front. And you have another black male, dark skin, all in black. That's 4 different descriptions. The state has alluded that they were under this high stress event that's altered their perceptions. You know, Ms. Miller talked about going to a wedding and having witnessed a wedding. But folks, only 2 people to that wedding got married, right? That doesn't change. The number doesn't change. You'll hear from detectives. This investigation remains open to their suspects. Right. We talked about common sense. We're asking you to use your common sense in this case to the best of our ability, right? We can only go based upon what the evidence presented to us is showing. So who should you believe? The 2 eyewitnesses that were there, the two victims that are surviving this tragic incident, in this case, that are going to testify, or Buck, Buster, Bubba, Christopher Horne Jr. You'll hear that Christopher Horne Jr. has been offered a deal of a lifetime. You'll hear that he was looking at life in prison on this charge. Life in prison. But instead, what he'll get is a 25-year sentence with no minimum mandatory, which means he gets credit for time served, 2 years. He gets good time, he gets gain time, right? So we figure he'll spend about 19, 20 years in prison. You'll hear that in this case, his parents were arrested for witness tampering, for threatening Jessica Stein. You'll hear that those charges were dropped by the state attorney. By this state attorney. You'll hear that the plan that night between Christopher Horne and Thomas Stein is to drive around and check the door handles of cars, look for loose change. I think we can all agree that this is a league away from committing a violent armed robbery. Right? Trying door handles. You hear that Thomas Stein lives in a nice house. His mom provides for him, lets him smoke marijuana in her house or at her house, not inside. But gives him certain freedoms, right? At least she knows where he's at. Doesn't have to pay for gas. Doesn't have to pay for insurance. He gets to use the rental car. All of his needs are met. You'll hear that Christopher Horne Jr., Buster, is a very different life, all right? And when he meets up with Thomas Stein 2 months before the murder, he sees an easy mark. You'll hear him, he calls him sweet. And not like sweet, oh, he's brought me flowers. Sweet, I can get this guy to do whatever I want. I can go to his house, I can hold his guns that his mom owns, I can smoke his marijuana. You hear that Christopher Horne, when making and striking this deal, gave a proffer to the state. You'll hear, in that proffer, he lied. So they had to bring him back for a second one. He gave a deposition. You're going to hear the untruths he told there. And you should ready yourself for what comes out of this magic truth-telling box. I'll see that in air quotes, because it's not. That comes out of his mouth. Does the state's star witness testimony match up with the forensics, with the testimony of the surviving victims, and with your common sense? We're going to have to use our common sense to figure out who these other two people in the car were, right? But we have to remember, the state doesn't have to prove that. That's just icing on the cake. That's just going to show that our common sense is greater than the untruths that can come from the stand. Who is Buster protecting? Going out, no mask on, looking for door handles to try in a parking lot. All of a sudden, shifts when two people get in the car. Right? That Thomas is driving. There's a conversation, I don't know, maybe, between Christopher Horne and these two people that Mr. Stein is not a part of. You'll hear that Christopher Horne Jr. had a 1911 .45 caliber. You'll hear that even though the gun wasn't discharged allegedly, Christopher Horne Jr. gets rid of it. And then when I say gets rid of it, in a river somewhere. And Christopher Horne Jr. during his proffer says, here's where it's at. And you'll hear how law enforcement dutifully went to that location and they dredged and they looked. Metal detectors, the whole bit. What'd they find? Goose egg. Nothing. Why would Horne get rid of a gun that allegedly wasn't used? And according to him, didn't even have bullets. If it wasn't the murder weapon. Why would Christopher Horne Jr. get rid of his cell phone? You'll hear that they have Thomas Stein's cell phone. They have his records. But they don't have Christopher Horne Jr.'s phone. They have carrier records, but they don't have records from WhatsApp. They don't have direct messages from social media. So was Thomas Stein a principal in the murder, the felony murder of Kayla Rincon-Miller, or was he sweet? Did these boys use him? The fact that he had a car, the fact that he had weed, the fact that he was willing to drive them around to try to fit in with them. Folks, at the end of this case, I'm going to ask you to render the verdict that justice demands. Nothing more. Thank you.
All right, the record reflects State President, Defense Counsel, Defendant are present. Are we ready to bring the jury back in?
Yeah, Judge, before we bring them in, we would invoke the rule of sequestration.
All right, so the rule of sequestration has been invoked. If you are a witness in this case, you may not be present during any testimonial portions of the trial. You must remain outside the courtroom and not discuss your testimony with anyone else other than the attorneys. And I'll have the attorneys instruct any other witnesses that may not be present. Okay? All right.
Judge, in terms of the body-worn camera, we're going to have to reposition ourselves so that we can actually see it.
I'm sorry?
We're going to have to reposition ourselves so that we can actually see it.
Yeah, you can move your chairs around. That's fine.
This question from here. Do we use this podium to question the witness? Yes.
Okay, you got
It's
it?
the first trial in front of you.
Since juvenile.
That's not the first trial she's done in front of me.
He did many juvenile.
That's right.
I forgot about that.
I think she's done more in front of me than you.
My last 6 murder trials have been in front of you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I've done a lot.
All right. Are we ready to bring jury back in?
Yes.
All right. All right, y'all ready? Okay, and you can't talk about his cooking anymore because it makes me hungry.
I've never tried this.
All right. All right, let's bring the
350 was the wrong time. It was.
all right, let's bring the jury back in. Yeah, all I can think about is this one.
Thank you.
Jurors entry.
All right, please be seated. Juror 337, you're able to make a phone call you need to. And I believe it was also juror 424.
Yes.
You're all able to make your phone call. Okay, very well. Ready to proceed. State and call the first witness.
The state calls Jamil Vega.
All right, if you'll face the clerk, raise your right hand, she'll swear you.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes. You may take the stand. Whenever you're ready, you can proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What is your full name?
Jamil Vega,
How do you spell your first name?
Jahmil,
And how do you spell your last name?
Vega.
I see that you're in a uniform. Can you introduce yourself to the jury by telling them what you do?
Hello, I'm Officer Jamil Vega. I work for the Cape Coral Police Department.
How long have you been doing that?
Going on 3 years sworn.
What did you do before being employed with the Cape Coral Police Department?
I was a college student and I worked at Walmart bagging some groceries.
What's your current role with CCPD?
I'm a field training officer and a patrol officer.
What does a field training officer do?
I'm responsible for training some of the new hire-ons and giving them some road experience.
Even at a couple years in?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been a field training officer?
Working on 2 years now.
And in order to get your role and your position with the Cape Coral Police Department, did you have to go through any type of training or education?
The Florida Police Academy and pre-deployment training with the Cape Coral Police Department.
Did that training involve first aid?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
And what type of things are you trained to do for first aid?
For our first aid, it's life-saving measures. We're not EMS, so it's trying to stop bleeding, make sure airways are open, CPR.
In your current role, do you work a particular shift?
Currently, I'm on Platoon 2, which is our Bravo shift. It's a day shift now.
You say now, has that been where you've always been assigned?
No, ma'am.
Where were you assigned previously?
Previously, I worked on our Platoon 3, which is our Charlie shift, which is a night shift.
And what are the night shift hours?
Our night shift hours are either 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
When you were working night shift, that Bravo shift, or is it Bravo shift?
Charlie
shift. What were you, a 6 p to 6 a or 7 p to 7 a?
I was a 7 p to 7 a.m.
Lucky you. And in your role, are you assigned a vehicle from the Cape Coral Police Department?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Is that the normal marked vehicle with lights and sirens and all of that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you assigned to work with another officer, or do you work alone within your car?
Well, in my facilities as a field training officer, I do have another newer officer with me who I give experience to. But normally I'm on my own if I'm not training somebody.
And do you, I know you said you're a field training officer and a patrol officer, so I assume that means that you go out.
I didn't know if there was a witness that came in. Okay. Go ahead.
I know you said you were a field training officer, but you also mentioned that you're a patrol officer. Can you describe what it means, what you do as a patrol officer?
Absolutely. So as a patrol officer for the Cape Coral Police Department, I'm one of the many responsible for taking calls for service put in by citizens and being proactive, looking for crimes in progress or infractions.
When you're not being proactive looking for things and instead you're getting calls, how do you receive those calls?
There's multiple ways to receive calls for service. The primary way is through the radio, through dispatch, if it's a priority call. But also we have a mobile CAT system, a laptop inside of our computer or inside of our vehicles that allow us to see calls that are in holding or in a pending status.
And you also have a radio, I think you mentioned.
Yes, ma'am.
When you're out on a call, do you provide updates about your status and what you're doing?
Yes, ma'am, as needed.
And are you also assigned a body-worn camera recording device?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you wearing that today?
I am not wearing that today.
And where would it normally be situated on your body?
It would be on my outer carrier. I have a mount for it. It would be center mass of my body on my abdomen.
So just about chest area, abdomen area?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And how does that system operate in terms of how does it get turned on?
The body cam activates manually. I would have to press the start or the record button twice. It is always in an on function, but it's not always recording until I tap the record button twice.
And are you in the practice of, or are you required to turn the recording device on when you enter a service, a call for service?
Yes, ma'am.
And how is the footage from that camera saved?
That footage is directly uploaded to a cloud for the Cape Coral Police Department evidence. I don't have to manually upload.
So it's an automated system that does that?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, back on March 17th of 2024, were you obviously working with the Cape Coral Police Department at that time?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And were you in the field training officer status, or were you not yet in that role?
I was not yet in the field training officer status.
Okay. And were you in that Charlie shift, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
All right. And approximately 9:30 at night on that day, or actually I should say about 9 o'clock, were you working a call that night?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And what kind of call was that?
The call I was on currently was a missing endangered subject, a male who had wandered off, had some mental health issues.
And did you complete that call, or did something else happen before your completion of your role in that call?
I was assisting the primary officer on that call. Once my assistance was no longer needed, I was clearing from the call to put myself available again for other calls.
And what happened at that point?
Well, as I was leaving the prior call for service, I checked my laptop and I saw a call in holding. It was a bit peculiar because normally it would come over the radio, but it was a call for a shooting.
So it was kind of strange because you hadn't heard it over the radio?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you saw this call is out there in holding. What did you do as a result of that?
Well, I looked at the address, I looked at the details briefly, and I put myself en route to that call for service.
Were you the only one at that point en route?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Would you know if there were other officers who had been dispatched or en route?
Yes, ma'am. The computer system lets you know how many officers or who exactly is on that call for service.
And can you estimate for the jury how far away you were from the call where the shooting was versus where you had been?
By the time I had looked at the call location and put myself en route, I was no more than a few blocks away from the call location.
And where was the call location?
It's about the 2000 block of Southeast 16th Place in Cape Coral, County, Florida.
And can you describe some maybe guide points for the jurors about where that might be, other than the road name? Because road names in Cape Coral are confusing.
I understand. The best place to mark is north of there would be a Bolero, which is a bowling alley, and then just south of there is a little strip mall or mall area called Coralwood Mall, where we have a movie theater and other businesses.
Just to be clear, that's all in Lee County, Florida.
Yes, ma'am.
So you traveled to the Southeast 16th Place location?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. And what did you do upon arrival?
Upon arrival, I exited my patrol vehicle. Based on the notes of the call, I had read that there was a shooting in a suspect or a victim who was on the floor, and that the suspect vehicle had left. I began to observe my surroundings and make sure that the shooter was still not on scene. And after making that determination, I observed several juveniles on kind of like the intersection or by a stop sign right there.
And I know you said there's several juveniles, I'll come back to those. Were there any other officers present when you arrived?
No, ma'am, there wasn't.
Were there any medical personnel on scene when you arrived?
No, ma'am, there wasn't.
And these juveniles that you've noted, can you describe them for the jury as being male, female, and approximately how many?
Approximately, there would be about, say, 8 to 10 juveniles. There was a group of younger juvenile males. Then there was a smaller separate group of younger juvenile females.
And you mentioned that the call for service indicated there was someone that was on the floor, on the ground. Were you able to see that person when you arrived on scene?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
And can you describe what that person looked like?
I would describe her as a younger African-American female. She was lying on her back. There was another female who looked like she was attempting to hold pressure on her chest. And she was obviously not feeling well.
And so that's the girl on the ground, the girl holding pressure. What about, were there any other girls on scene?
Yes, ma'am. As I was approaching and assessing the patient at that point, there was another younger juvenile female who was on the phone with 911.
And now you mentioned that there were the other younger juvenile males on scene. What were they doing at the time?
They were standing in close proximity to the other group. They asked if they could leave, and I said everyone must stay.
Did you get any indication that they had been involved in the incident at that point?
At that time, no, ma'am.
Okay. And at any point, did they end up becoming?
As far as I know, no, ma'am.
And just generally, can you describe for the jury kind of the tone of the scene when you arrived? It sounds like it would be exciting because it's a shooting, or not exciting in a happy way, but exciting as amped up. But was it that?
It was chaotic. I have a group of juveniles. One is obviously injured. I observed had an apparent gunshot wound to her chest and had been losing an amount of blood. I have another female in tears, trying to help put some pressure on her chest. I have another female in tears on 911, trying to get information over and trying to get help to her. So it wasn't the most controlled scene at that point.
Can you also describe kind of like the lighting of that area? Is this a well-lit area or something else?
It's not very well lit. It's a very dark area of Cape Coral in general, but of that street specifically, no street lights pretty near.
And do you recall if there were any vehicles on scene?
There was a vehicle stopped up the road, I believe, but I don't think it belonged to any of the juveniles as far as I remember it.
And so you've taken this assessment. What did you do next as a result of seeing what kind of getting the lay of the land?
I observed that there was a female with a gunshot wound, like I said, so my mind immediately went to life-saving measures and tried to attempt to save her life.
And how did you do that?
The Cape Coral Police Department issues us individualized first aid kits, which is mounted in my patrol vehicle. I retrieved my chest seals and medical gauze and attempted to stop the bleeding and cover the holes.
Did you try to get assistance from the other young woman who was with the victim on the ground?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Was she able to help you?
Yes, ma'am, she was.
And can you describe for the jury sort of the consciousness or lack thereof of the victim that was laying on the ground?
The young victim, she was not completely in her right state of mind at that point. I would assume in shock. She could tell me her name. You could tell she was in a lot of pain. And she tried to get up several times throughout her fight.
So your first focus is getting the life-saving measures in place. Was there anything else that you decided to do or needed to do once you arrived?
Yes, ma'am. While I was administering first aid and doing life-saving measures, I was trying to get information to relay it to other officers and supervisors to get resources allocated to my scene.
And did you get that information and relay it?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Who was providing the information that you received?
The two juveniles who were not the victim or the patient at that point.
The other young women on scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you the only officer who remained on scene, or did anyone else arrive?
There were several other officers who arrived afterwards.
Do you recall who arrived soon after you did?
Officer Riley Houlihan was the first officer to arrive after me.
Do you all work together on the same shift and in the same zone area?
Officer Houlihan was actually filling in. He was working overtime from a different shift, and happened to be closer by than any other unit at that point.
Was he also a relatively new officer?
Yes, ma'am. We actually went to the law enforcement academy together, so we had the same amount of experience at that point.
And can you remind me, when was it that you graduated from the academy?
It would be earlier in 2023.
What did Officer Houlihan do on his arrival?
Officer Ulan arrived on scene and began to assist me in checking for secondary wounds to the victim, and then gathering information about any other patient, if possibly, that there were any on scene.
Now, you were wearing your body camera at the time this occurred,
Yes, ma'am, I was.
and it was operating?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
I'm showing defense counsel at the mark to see exhibit number 1. I enrich the witness, Your Honor.
You may.
Officer Vega, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as state's exhibit number 1. Can you tell me if you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And how do you recognize it?
This is a DVD that I have signed or initialed with my and dated.
After having watched it.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is it?
It is a snippet of my body-worn camera from that evening.
And does that fairly and accurately depict what you saw when you arrived on scene on March 17th of 2024?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to enter state's exhibit 1 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Be admitted.
May I publish, Your Honor?
Do you want me to read the instruction?
Yes, please.
All right. Members of the jury, you're about to view a video recording. The court instructs you that the recording has been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions that would not add to your understanding of the case. The fact that the recording has been edited should not concern you in any way and must not impact the way you view and consider this evidence. You may publish when you're ready.
Permission
I'm sorry?
to move about forward.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can move your chair through.
The state's placed the disc in the player and is press play.
And can all the juror members see okay?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's okay for them, it's a ring light thing, shining shots. That's why other people here. Yeah. He's out there for me. Very fine. I need everybody to stay here. And where's the shooter at? It was literally that they were trying to grab us and scare all the kids. You guys know these guys? Sorry, just say this for me. You okay? Let me see. Where you shot? Right there? Oh, they're coming. They're right around the corner. Okay? Do we have any records? Like your expression? Hello? Let's get in over us or just in the church? Just in the church. Security medics. The shooting after the vehicle and southbound at something took place. Stay strong. Shit to the victim. Stay strong. Here, this is right here. Can you roll it? Which one's here? Let's see the guys. See ones? Yes, right. She's got a through and chest seal. Look at her. She's got a chest seal on it right now. It's coming off. She's got the back of it. She's got a chest seal on it. Right here. Calm down, calm down. I'm okay. Just confirm that she's the only only one? Yeah. Okay. How many shots did you get? The chicken said it came out. Yeah, it looks like one in the way back. And Very certified, can have two shots, one's for chest, one's for lower back. Looks like we're making one patient at this time. Even that's Southeast 16 minutes. I'm not sure, okay? I got people coming for you, okay? Can we get some kind of jacket to cover around? Right. You don't know who did this to you, honey? No. Okay.
They did it unprovoked.
They were trying to rob you?
They were following us.
How many people? How many people were there?
Five guys. One in a red jacket.
Are they black, white, Hispanic?
Yes. One, the driver was a white male, looked at the age of 17 to 20 with blonde hair, and the guy who came up to me was an black African with dreads. Well, she's gonna be okay?
Any additional? That's what I'm looking for right now. It looks like we just got the one on the chest. Let's keep her on her side in the recovery position. Stay here for me, okay? Just keep that chest still there. Good job. Yeah. Off on the back of her neck, nothing out of her head.
Please, inside.
I'm making sure. You're not hurting anywhere else, honey? Okay. Just in the chest? Okay. Two shots to the front, one in the front, one in the back. Yeah, bring that knee forward. Yep. Better bring this knee up, okay? It's gonna help you feel a little better. Okay, don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Hold on to. Yeah, all right. Stay here with us, okay? You still here? Hey, what's your name? Kayla. Okay, Kayla. Stay down. We're not down, Kayla. Don't move, okay? We need the chest seals that we put on you to stay in place, okay? All right, we can't have you moving.
Did you get her information yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Where were you coming from? Do you know did you see who shot you?
No.
You didn't see him at all? Is there anybody who would want to hurt you for any reason? Okay. Are you involved in any gang activity? You're not in trouble, but tell me.
No.
Okay. And you don't have anybody who want to hurt you? Okay. Just stay still for a second. We can't. We're taking care of you. Okay. We're taking care of you, okay? Stay still. Everything's just done. Just stay still. Okay. You can't move. It's very important you don't move, okay? Just need you to take. Okay, just stay still. Do we have a kid here, baby? Yeah, I'll stay tuned to him. Try to get more information out of other people. Just hold tight for me, okay? Hold tight. You're not hurting anywhere else?
No.
So hold tight. I got ambulance coming. You're gonna take off the chest seals I put on you. This is what's keeping you alright. Okay? Sweetheart, do you know who did this to you? They don't know. It was about 4 or 5 guys trying to rob them. Got into a vehicle, left side from here. Who's the? Is she talking? Yeah, she's talking. What's your name? What was your name again? What pressure on her chest?
That was the conclusion of the video, and I'll let defense get their seats. where we stopped that video, what was happening at the scene at that time?
Several officers had arrived on scene after me.
Did EMS arrive at that time?
EMS arrived shortly after the conclusion of that snippet of the video.
Did you remain at that scene for the rest of your shift that night?
For the majority of it, yes,
And
ma'am.
what were you doing there?
Once EMS transported the victim, I took a secondary role as the detectives arrived. I maintained a crime scene log and assisted in canvassing for video footage from neighboring residences.
Did the other girls remain on scene?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
And can you describe their demeanor for the jurors?
The other females were completely distraught, in tears, sobs, trying to help me with first aid, and the other calling 911 for help.
They were very high emotion, is that fair?
Very.
And did they remain at that high emotion when the detectives came and started talking to them?
As far as I recall, yes, ma'am.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
I don't have any further questions.
All right. Vince?
Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon, sir.
There were two females on scene that were not patients, as you described. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Was there anything at all about them that made them look like a boy or a man? Or were they plainly female?
Not to my recollection, sir. I just observed two females as well as the other group of juvenile males there.
But you didn't mistake one of them for a boy, right?
No, sir.
Do you recall who gave you the description of the assailants being 4 to 5 men?
Can you get behind the microphone again, please? Thank you.
Do you recall who it was that gave you the description of the assailants being 4 to 5 men? Or 4 to 5 boys, I should say.
I do not recall her name, but she was the female who was assisting me with first aid.
Do you know who described the driver as having blonde hair?
My focus at that point was on the victim, at the patient. So that information was mainly obtained by other officers on scene.
So you said that you stayed on scene to assist with the crime scene log?
Crime scene log and canvassing residences, sir.
Did you take part in the police line looking for evidence in the case?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you know if they recovered any shell casings from the scene that night?
I do not know.
You described that street, 16th Place, as not well lit, but it's completely dark. Is that true?
It's not very well lit. It's pretty dark, yes, sir.
It's dark. I mean, there's not a light.
No.
Closest light's Del Prado, which is 1 block west. You
Yes,
agree
sir.
with that? And then you have residences down the street.
Yes, sir.
Did you put out a be on the lookout or a bolo at all when you were on scene?
I disseminated information over the radio, over what a vehicle was leaving, and very bare minimum make and model, as I recall. I
Have a make and model or a description?
a description.
So silver SUV.
I do not recall what the actual description was at that time.
Is it fair to say it would be on your body cam?
Yes, sir.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. You redirect?
No, Your Honor, the witness can be released.
All right, you can step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, easy released.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, you're released from your seat.
This next one, this is a longer witness, Judge.
All right, very good. So we'll go ahead and let him go. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 5:30. Again, I thank you for being here for such a long day. I'm going to have you come back tomorrow morning. And do we have anything at 8:30? We do not. Any problem coming here tomorrow morning at 8:30? All right. We'll resume tomorrow morning at 8:30. So remember my earlier instructions. Don't do any research. Don't look up anything. Don't watch local news. Don't read local newspapers during the pendency of this case, all right? Don't discuss this case, your service as a juror. Don't form any fixed or definite opinions, again, until you've heard all the evidence, the argument by the attorneys, the instruction on the law by the court, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. All right? And don't forget you can bring your own food and drinks and all those things too. Leave your notepads here. Yeah, just leave them in your seat. All right, let the record reflect the jury's exited the courtroom. We'll see everybody in the morning then at 8:30?
Yes, Judge.
Okay, I figured just to give it a little extra 30 minutes to, will help out, all right?
Judge, where do you have the jurors assembled?
Mike usually has them assembled, I'm not sure where, he didn't tell me.
Okay.
Not out here.
But not out there.
I just don't want anyone running into them.
No. I think he has them meet somewhere else and then come up through the back.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? And any other issues I need to address prior to tomorrow?
No, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for putting in a long day today as well. All right. And thank the staff and the clerks and the bailiffs for putting in a long day. And thank you to the media for putting in a long day today, too. Do y'all switch when the morning crew comes on in the morning and then y'all switch halfway?